I am excited to welcome Sarah Pekkanen, celebrating the release of her new thriller, House of Glass. Sarah Pekkanen was born in New York, but raised in Bethesda, Maryland. After graduating from the University of Maryland with a degree in journalism, she worked at The Hill and the Baltimore Sun. Her first novel was The Opposite of Me in 2009, and since then she's written a book every year, many of which went on to become international bestsellers. She became a regular on the New York Times bestseller list after teaming with her former editor, Greer Hendricks, for The Wife Between Us. In 3 other novels, Pekkanen and Hendricks established a trademark of great characters, gripping plot packed with twists you didn't see coming, and a suspenseful manipulation of the reader's sympathies. Pekkanen set out on her own with 2023's solo thriller Gone Tonight, which Colleen Hoover called her best yet. When not writing bestsellers, Pekkanen works to rescue street dogs in India through her nonprofit, India Street Paws Incorporated. She also serves on the board of International Thriller Writers. She will be in conversation with Alex Finlay, whose 2021 debut, Every Last Fear, was called a high-wire act of tight plotting, alternating perspectives, and shifting timelines. His newest book is this year's If Something Happens to Me, which Booklist called another compelling, tension-filled thriller, perfect for fans of Kate Moretti and the crime-writing duo of Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. And that brings us back to the reason we're all here. So I hope you'll join me in giving a big Union Market welcome to Sarah Pekkanen and Alex Finlay.
Hello.
Is it on?
Hello, Mr. Finlay. We meet again.
Hello. Well, thank you for everyone for coming, and thank you, Politics and Prose, for hosting this event. I'm excited to be here tonight, not only because this is a great book by a great author by any measure, but also because Sarah is a great friend of mine. We lived probably 5-minute walk from each other for many years in Chevy Chase, not knowing it until we were paired at an event a few years ago, and have since become really good friends. So it's a real pleasure just to be here and talk to you. And we've done this a few times, but thank you. But for those of you who don't know Sarah, just the high points: #1 New York Times bestseller. More than 3 million, yeah, that's good. More than 3 million books sold. 3 dozen translations in foreign countries, movies. I would go on, but I'll feel bad about myself as a writer if I continue to do too much more. But the remarkable thing is she just keeps getting better and better with every book. So thank you for being here.
That was the nicest introduction ever. And I love it that you're here, along with your beautiful wife, Trace, who has also become a great friend of mine. And, Alex is very modest, so he won't tell you that he has many of those same accolades. National bestseller, dozens of countries, everything option for TV and film. But it is great. Like, we have this really cool friendship. We do our authorly walks and talks. And so we'll meet up and we will walk to a nearby pub. That's really like the goal. Like, we pretend we're walking and talking about plot, but we're both like, oh God, how much farther do we have to walk till we can have a beer? We go to World of Beer in Bethesda, we have a beer, and we talk about everything from like book covers to plots to kids to, whatever's going on. So thank you for being here.
Great. And I have more than 1 beer, but Sarah's a little more moderate than that.
I had 3 last time, and you had to
Okay, so we're here to talk about House of Glass. Can you set the stage for everybody? Just give us the high-level overview with no spoilers about, what the book's about.
Yes, spoiler-free. So House of Glass is the story of a specialized lawyer. It's called a BIA or a GAL, a best interest attorney or guardian ad litem. And their job in a very high conflict divorce case is to represent the children and figure out the best custody arrangement for the children. So when House of Glass opens, there's a family that lives locally. They live in Potomac in a big old, creepy mansion, and they're divorcing. And I'm not giving any spoilers. So it turns out the father had been having an affair with the nanny. The nanny died under mysterious. She's like, oh, what? The nanny died under mysterious circumstances, and now both parents are desperately struggling to get custody of the little girl. The little girl saw the nanny die and has suddenly become mute. She cannot speak. It's a rare condition called traumatic mutism. So our lawyer walks into, our main character and our only narrator walks into this environment. She's like, dead nanny, cheating father, angry mother, creepy old mansion, little girl who's not speaking, and I have to figure out what to do. And if I get it wrong, I'm going to send this kid to live with a murderer.
Yeah, and so you do a lot of research, much more than I do for your books. But I understand this one came about when you were on the bus with a friend of your son's mother. Is that how that came about?
Yeah. So I've got 3 kids. You guys do too. And so, it's weird because I never really want to write about my kids, but sometimes tangentially they can give me some inspiration. And so that's what happened. I was on a school bus and I was talking to a mom who also had 3 boys. And, we're getting our ass kicked every day by our kids and not sleeping and, whatever it is. And I said, what was your life like before you had kids, to her? And she said, oh, I was a BIA. And I'm like, what is that? And she said, a GAL. I'm like, I have no idea. And then she told me she was a specialized lawyer and she had these wild cases. As soon as she said that, I knew I had a series, or I knew I had a book. Let's not say series yet. I haven't told my editor yet that it might be a series, but the book is actually dedicated to her. And I think that also, as authors, people often say, where do you get your ideas? And we get our ideas everywhere, that was a conversation. But it could be like a news article, an overheard conversation, whatever it is, right?
Yeah. And how did you couple that with traumatic mutism? Is it mute?
Well, I knew, the thing we like to do with our characters is make their lives really, really hard. Like a famous writer said once, you get your character up a tree and then you start throwing rocks at them. And so I knew that if she needed to find out this little girl's story and if she needed to be able to determine what was really going on, I had to throw a challenge in there. So I thought about different things. I thought, well, if the little girl was visually impaired, maybe she couldn't have seen what happened. And I researched different conditions. And in researching mutism, that really grabbed me because there are 3 different distinct kinds. So there is, somebody who doesn't speak at all. And then there is a situational mutism where somebody speaks in only certain settings. So a kid might not speak at all at school, but they talk away at home. Traumatic mutism, which my little girl has in the book, is far more rare and not well understood. And it's when there is a very traumatic event and whoever sees it is so traumatized that they lose the ability to speak. There are not a lot of documented cases, but one I found involved a little girl who was attacked by a dog and hospitalized, and she didn't speak for 6 weeks. And then spontaneously, she just began speaking as if there had never been any gap.
My wife wishes I had situational mutism, I think, occasionally. Let's talk about every book's a challenge. And what number book is this for you?
14.
So what was the biggest challenge for you on this book?
So for this book, the biggest challenge is that I wrote it all from the point of view of one character. It's all first person. And I did that with a few books early on. But the thing about a thriller is that you want to have, the cat and mouse and kind of the little threads dangled and the clues. So I've gotten, my last however many books, including all of my co-authored books, have been told from the point of view of at least 2 narrators. And that gives you a little bit of a toolbox as a writer to be able to leave one, really interesting, intense place on the story with the next one, so that you keep readers kind of turning the pages. You can see something from one character's point of view, and then something very different from the others. with House of Glass, I really wanted to get deeply into the head of the lawyer, Stella Hudson. And so I wrote the whole thing from her point of view. And it was like running a marathon. I remember finishing and being like, I am wrung out. I am exhausted.
That was going to be one of my questions about the first person, because I write like 10 characters.
Yeah, you have like 4 or 5
Just
usually.
I get bored.
And then you have the omniscient sometimes, which is kind of cool. Like he'll, so can you talk for a minute about your new book?
We're here to talk about you, but I will.
Please talk about you.
My book, my latest book, is called If Something Happens to Me. And next question for you.
So do you want me to give the synopsis first?
Oh, I'd love to hear that. It might be better than.
So it started out with a high school couple deeply in love. They are in their car at Lover's Lane. Finally, and like getting started, just stop me anytime. Like finally about to, pledge themselves to each other. When all of a sudden somebody appears at the window of the car, breaks the window. The guy's gone down and the girl disappears. The guy wakes up and he's like, I think there was somebody there who wasn't there. The girl is not found for a while, and he becomes accused of the murder, and he even begins to doubt himself. At the beginning, he's really, am I doing it better than you?
Better than that. As usual, better than you. As
So then,
usual.
like this follows him, right, for his life. Like he goes on to college, and he's always missing this, woman, this young woman that he loved. And then things start to get creepy because he thinks he sees the face of the man who broke the window the night his girlfriend disappeared.
That's pretty good. Thanks. I should write the copy of this, the jacket copy for next. So we're friends. I know a lot about you, but occasionally on social media I see things I didn't know, which is fine.
He Googled me.
Yeah.
Googled
No,
me this week.
I did. I read a Publisher's Weekly story about you. But the first thing I'll say is on social media you posted this wall in your house of all these Post-its, which made you look like a crazy person. But it's about how you plot.
Say what you really think.
No, but it's part of your process. So talk a little bit about your process as a writer and what that wall was all about.
So I like a messy creative process. Some of us who have day jobs as lawyers may not quite need as messy as a process, but I like to be able to kind of look around and pull different things. I mean, it's probably like, I have some ADHD or ADD, so it's probably a little bit of that, but so I do things with whiteboards. My dreams, I have a whole room of whiteboards where I can just little stuff about my book. I do a lot with Post-it notes, write down ideas, jot down character arcs. I have them up all over my office. And it might not make sense to anybody else who sees it, but to me, I'm like, oh wait, that can go with that. And I move around the Post-its, and I'm so happy, just geeking out in a little quiet world, moving rooms around.
Have you ever seen that meme from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where there's a crime board and a crazy person?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Am I the crazy person?
You're not a crazy person, but the Post-it says something. But no, so I read this article about you, Publishers Weekly did, about the release of this book, and it had your editor, your agent, all having these theories about why you connect so much with readers and how you sell these millions of books. And I have my own kind of theories, but I think it comes down to two things that I've noticed about you in our friendship. Is one, that in the story they called it, they said you were a self-described adrenaline junkie. I would say you're an adventurer, but I also would say it's kind of a contrast with that you're also a really kind of involved mom and really compassionate, caring person. And for me, it's those two things that I think why readers connect so much, because you infuse that into the characters. But I want to say I did learn something on the adventurer side that I think captures you in this, and I didn't know this. The story said you had an extreme fear of flying, and your remedy was, please tell everyone.
Take a flying lesson.
Yeah. You got a Groupon and you went and flown the plane.
Yeah, it's great. A little Cessna, and they're like, take everything in control. I'm like, all right.
As we all do.
And I landed, and I'm like, oh, I'm not scared of flying. I've been fine. I used to take Xanax to fly, and I'm like, I'm totally fine.
I when I read that, because I knew, I talked to my wife the next morning, and I said, you know, I told her that we were scared of flying, so we could fly less. And it just happened the day before. I'm a little scared of spiders, and there was a spider on my patio table, and I had said to her, I'm never ever going out to the patio table ever again. So that's how we.
Did you need to move the spider?
So then there's the flip side, which I say, like, we could go through the many adventures. And the Washington Post has done a story about one of them with Sarah, but I'll jump to the flip side, the compassionate side. Talk a little bit about your, you mentioned it in the intro, your charity for rescue dogs.
Yes, so I was on social media and I saw a TikTok or Instagram of a group of people in India going down into an old crumbling well to save a dog. I followed in. So long story short, I started communicating with the rescue workers who work at this old rescue in Gujarat, India, and they said, you know, you should come visit sometime. And I'm like, you know, great. And they said, you know, we're actually operating on rented land. We're the only rescue here. The government does not really have dogs here, and so our workers are making next to nothing. We work around the clock, but we love animals so much, and there are millions of street dogs here. There's no spay neuter program. The dogs get hit by a car, they're left on the side of the road. Like just horrible things. And I was like, well, I'll come visit. So
As one does when they meet someone on the internet.
a stranger on the internet from another country needs money, you naturally go. So I went, one of my best friends is like, I'm coming with you, okay, because you're crazy. So she came with me, and we ended up having one of the best weeks of our lives. We met the kindest, most wonderful people. The man who started the rescue is named Babesh, and he was an orphan, and he grew up on the street selling fragrance sticks, and he was abused terribly. And his only companions were the street dogs, who were also abused terribly and had nowhere to go. And he ended up somehow, it's a miracle, he got a PhD. The classmate's father recognized how brilliant he was and sponsored him to go to school. He got a PhD, and he thought, I am finally going to have the life I want. I'm going to get married, I'm going to buy land, I'm going to have kids. But every night he drove home from his job, and he would see dogs on the side of the street, starving, injured, abused, and he said, how can I leave them when they were there for me? So he bought a tarp, and whenever he saw an injured or hurt dog, he would bring it under the tarp and start treating it, and he ended up renting land, and then it turned into this whole thing that he was, you know, caring for so many animals, but he could never afford to buy the land. So after I visited him, I've gone back every 6 months for the past year and a half. I formed a nonprofit here called India Street Homeless, and there's another author named Laura Hillenbrand. You guys have probably heard of her with Seabiscuit and Unbroken. She's my high school classmate, one of my closest friends. And one night when I was in India, I called her, and I was in tears, and I'm like, you know, I'm just seeing these awful things, and, you know, Laura's such a good friend. She was, you know, lifting me up as we do. And then a few days later, she's like, wait a minute, my uncle died, and he left behind a charitable trust for kids and animals. I'm going to write you a grant. So I matched the grant that they wrote, which was a big one, and then I got a bunch of donations on social media, and getting enough to help secure the land. So my 15-year-old and I went over there for the land blessing ceremony in December. We had like a sage, and we, you know, I wore sari, and it was beautiful, and we had a huge piece of land, and we're going to have all kinds of animals there as soon as the infrastructure is built, including guest houses. So if anybody wants to go visit and volunteer with the dogs for a week, it'll be there for you.
right, let's go. We're going to this one. I had hoped she'd fall in love with the guy so I could write a Hallmark movie about the whole thing. But it didn't,
I did too,
happen.
kind of, but he's like flirty
Yeah,
and,
it didn't happen.
yeah.
But you know, I will say, while she did all this charitable work, raised all this money, created a company, went to a groundbreaking, did all this thing, I watched a lot of Netflix. I fell flat. I mean, they don't all, I don't hit them all.
By the way, he's also a lawyer who argues cases before the Supreme Court, but in his day job.
Yeah, he's a big shot. He's a big shot. Yeah. So we don't have too much more time.
Does anybody get we'll chat.
Yeah.
And we'll get to questions.
Yeah, I have a couple. Let me ask a couple more of you. So two questions. One, I don't know how much you can talk about all the Hollywood stuff you're working on, but you've done screenplays for your own books. You're working on other projects. Can you talk about that much, or
I will if you will. Because
Yeah.
You're not talking about you're being very nice.
Yeah,
I don't like the side of you, you get to be more self-aware. So a lot of things are optioned. There's like a 1 in 10 chance when something gets optioned that it will be made. So my first co-authored book, Revered, Between Us, was optioned by Finlay, which is Steven Spielberg's company. If you like that book, yeah, it was a good one to write. So we wrote the screenplay for that together. Most of my other books have been optioned, and it's kind of weird. Like The Golden Couple, which was set here, was optioned. They have attached a big name actress, so I can't name, but you guys would all know her. She won the Academy Award. They hired a writer to write the series. She wrote it all, and then they're like, I think the network's like, we want to go in a different direction. So they fired her, they're getting another writer in. The What Between Us is, I think, maybe to a movie in Korea right now. Like, that seems to be a go, so we'll see. But I mean, the film stuff is crazy. Even today, I got an email about House of Glass. You know, a big name in Hollywood wants to have a Zoom call about it and then a meeting because they want to turn it into a movie series. And I just keep reminding myself, 1 in 10, like 1 in 10 chance it'll get relit. So, but it's very fun when it happens. And I would say the thing that I've really discovered about people in Hollywood, because I've had, some like you have, actors or producers, whatever, they're actually really smart and down to earth.
That hasn't been my experience.
I would say that they ask us such tough questions. Oh, thank you, Lisa. Laura Benanti, who is a 5-time Tony nominee, 1-time Tony winner, Gypsy, narrated House of Glass. She's really good. And before that, I had Kate Mara, who starred in The Martian, and a teacher. She was in House of Cards. She was really got pushed onto the subway. She narrated my last book, and I met her, and she was great. Oh, someone say something. Okay. So
A lot going on. Let's go.
it's good. We're gonna have a lot of
My experience with Hollywood is they tell you your book's the best thing they've ever read, but you really question if they've read it. So, what do you mean?
Somebody did tell me once that in Hollywood, when they meet me, like, oh my gosh, your book is brilliant. This is going to give me the vision for this. This is incredible. I am so honored to meet you. And you're like, oh no, that's just how they say hello in Hollywood. Yeah.
If you've ever seen, I'd recommend this movie, American Fiction, if you're others, but there is a Hollywood type of there who embodied every person that I know. But he was great. But it's a great movie. So close to time here. What's next? You're so prolific. You've already finished the next one.
The next book is done. Okay, it's called The Locked Ward, and I just saw they have a cover up on Amazon, and they probably will have like this book's first and too. I think that's the first place it went. It is, so this book I had to dive into research in a way I never have before. I had the idea, what would it be like to wake up in a high security psych ward for violent offenders and be accused of murder. You know, that could be fun. Let's see where that, you know, kind of spirals out to. And so, but I knew I had to go inside such a ward in order to be able to report it authentically and to get all the details that would make it, you know, feel palpable. So it took a while, but I finally found somebody who said, if you could fly to my city, I would get you into on the side nurse. And so I flew to her city, not knowing her. She picked me up at the airport, which is, AF points out, like, I could have easily gotten murdered then, which would have been like, you know, the twist you don't see coming. But she
I told her there's something called Google. You don't have to go there. You don't have to go there.
So yeah, she snuck me into the psych ward, and I remember there were very specific rules. Before I went in, they said, take off your necklace. Last week, we had a PhD student in, studying deviant behavior, and she had a lanyard tucked under her shirt. We could see it, and somebody tried to put her by strangling her. But we got one off in time. And they said, don't wear dark clothing, don't wear a logo, don't wear lettering, don't avoid eye contact, but don't maintain strong eye contact. Because that can be, I had a whole list. And I remember, and then they're like, okay, ready to go in. They look at me, I have 2 big guards. There's a series of doors. And then they immediately got me behind plexiglass because a resident was becoming violent. And when he saw me, he began banging on the plexiglass, trying to get to me. And a nurse said, oh, he smells fresh blood. And I was like, that line's going in the first chapter of my book. Like, I got it. So, I mean, there were people on this ward who had been accused of murder, of assault, of stalking where you fly across the country and break into a celebrity's house and all of that. And it was like a different atmosphere. I remember going in there, and it's like the world tilted on its axis. And when I came out, I had to sit on a bench in front of the hospital for like an hour. And then I went back to my hotel and I started to write. And I wrote the first 3 chapters that night and said to my editor, like, I don't think I can give you a synopsis. I don't want to stop writing. Like, I have to go with this. And luckily, she said yes. So the locked ward, hopefully we might be here again next year.
And I watched a lot of Netflix. A little better that time. I think it worked a little better. Yeah, I think there is.
I think that helps.
Yeah, I know. You know. All right. Well, why don't I put it up if there are any questions? Yes.
Hi. Are you a plotter or a pantser? Did I say that right?
You did.
Okay.
Am I a plotter or a pantser is the question. So plotters tend to, basically as it sounds, plot out. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Finlay. You're very helpful. They tend to plot out their books, right? So they'll know, they'll have an outline, or some people who are like really intense about it will like write pages and pages that almost then go in and insert stuff into the outline to flesh it out. Pantsers are people who kind of fly by the seat of their pants, and they write, you know, without really a map. I've done both. I'm more of a plotter, but as I've gone further along the whole launch board, I knew how it would end, but I pantsed my way through the middle. So as I've written more, I've gotten more confident with not having that like approved structure by my publisher and knowing, you know, this all makes sense to people other than me. But I don't know if I would ever write a book without knowing the end. Sorry, he does that sometimes. Because for me, it would be harder to put in foreshadowing and all of that without knowing the end. But you just like go. You like have a big idea and then you go, and it always
I
works.
feel like there's a dig in here. I just feel like there's a, no, actually I should say, back to the great compassionate person, I struggled with the end of my book that was due on Monday, and Sarah sat with me for 2 days, chapter by
You got me
chapter,
lying.
you know,
Yes, right.
helping me get through it. So
It's fun. Like that was just a writerly.
I didn't find it. It's not, well, I enjoyed that you helped me and saved the book, but yes. So,
And also, I should say that like friends and family are key because he and I were both stymied about one detail about the ending. And like talking about it, like, and I like instruct my subconscious, work on it, and I went to sleep, and he's losing his mind. Like he was pacing, and all of a sudden his brilliant wife is like, oh, whoa, what about that? And it was the key. It was really good.
It really did.
And you went through it and got
Yeah.
it.
So, and if the book flops, I could win her, which is great. That's how I do it. That's how I roll. Any other questions? Oh, one more.
Yeah, Sydney?
What is your favorite and least favorite part of the writing process?
That's a good question. Do you want to go first?
I must for both of you.
My favorite part is editing, not the writing part. Yeah, I like the editing part because it's done, and it's where I think that you really everything comes together. And also just it's done. You know, that's the part. Sarah is so much faster and
Really fast. So this one, sorry, I know you haven't said the least favorite part yet, but let me tell you about his writing process because this is so crazy. So he writes his initial draft of his book on his phone. He will roam neighborhoods, like wherever he is, and he'll have his phone, and he will write a chapter on his phone. And then, like, he couldn't, like, maybe go home and download and work on it, but that's how he gets his draft done, which is so wild to me. Like, I can't imagine not being in bed with my dog and my coffee and my lap desk and my pillows and my heating pad, and, like, I need all that to write. But he works, like, out free-ranging the street.
Yeah, makes me sound like a total hack. Right. No, that's just how I started writing when I was a practicing lawyer and I didn't have a lot of time. So I would write on the subway on the way to work and on the way home, and I'd be on my phone. And then I realized that during COVID, when I didn't have a community anymore, I was like, why am I having writer's block? I realized it's because I'm not walking and writing on my phone. So then I started, like, it was in the winter, I started bundling up and I'd go on these long walks down Connecticut Avenue. I'd look up and I wouldn't know where I was, my wife would have to come get me sometimes.
Put a tracker on you, or
She didn't.
she want you to
She does worry that I'll get hit by a car, but I've been pretty good so far.
Okay, your least favorite part. All right, you said your most favorite was it. My most favorite part, yes, I love when the book all clicks toward the end, because we always have doubt, like, are we going to screw this up? Are we going to be able to finish this book? It doesn't matter how many books you've written. And I have, when Greer and I were co-writing, we threw out 200 pages of one book. It was shocked. It was like 4 months' work, but we realized it was boring. We didn't want to write it. We looked at it every day, and we're like, oh. And so we tossed it and started anew. So when I know, like I see the finish line, that's the best feeling. Oh my God, this book's going to get done. Like, whoa! The worst part is when I finished it, like right now, and I'm like, oh, I'm never going to be able to write another book. No, it's done. Like, it's dried up, but it was a fluke. I'm a hack. It's done. I'm never going to write another book. I go through that every time in imposter syndrome. What's your worst?
Just getting it done for me. I'm always behind, and I'm like a college student the night before the exam, trying to get it done. So it's just, for me, it's just, I think about it a lot constantly, but it's just getting to the finish line.
Should we do one more question? Anybody else?
So, no more questions?
Anybody brave out there? You can ask anything.
Why is Alex Finlay the best writer of our generation?
That's what was on my mind.
Nobody asked. I know a lot of people are thinking
No, I feel like a lot of people think it, but it's shy.
Feels too shy, too shy. Okay, you know what? Well, yeah, well, thanks everyone for coming. I hope you'll stick around and get Sarah to sign the book. Thanks, Politics and Prose. It's always fun. And thank you.
Yes, thank you. And thank you all for coming and supporting. This is our indie bookstore in DC, Politics and Prose, as you know, several branches, and they're so important to our community. And we're so grateful that they are out here, working hard and, being really like, the heart of the community. So thank you to Politics and Prose, AF, my buddy, my writing buddy, thank you, and thank you to all of you for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much for